What's up, guys? Manny from Motomillion, and welcome to 2Wheel Convos, episode 2, where I take you guys out for a ride through the beautiful streets of Miami, and we have a relevant conversation about motorcycles, and relevant to, I guess, stuff that I like, to Motomillion, and to superbikes alike. And I also take you on a journey where you do go to a spot in Miami, or spots in Miami that I think are cool for me to show to you guys. And today we're headed to Parkhaus1, which is their 9-year anniversary, guys. It's a specialty Porsche shop, and I know it's a motorcycle thing, but we are going to go to some car places because Miami is known for the car culture, and I think you don't have to be a car person. If you ride motorcycles, I'm sure you would appreciate what you're going to see. And if you have enough time, I'm going to try to take you guys to the best burger joint in Miami as well. But till we get there, we're riding this beautiful Motomillion Panigale EP2. I don't know if you guys can tell, but this thing is totally decked out with carbon fiber. I don't know if you guys have watched the EP2 series that we had, and I'm happy to report I think this motorcycle is done. Maybe I'm thinking we'll change this to a manual damper, to a black one, because the electronic one I'm not so fond of. But on the last episode, we took our Motomillion M1000RR, or what soon to be is going to be the Motomillion M1000RR. And I can tell you this, there is such a sense of occasion to this, guys. This bike is so special. I think Ducatis right now are on a high. They are making some really amazing machines. And I'm lucky enough to get to ride these things back to back, and I can tell you that any of the modern Ducatis that I ride, if I only had one bike to choose, it would be one of those. I'm not saying all the other bikes are bad. I don't think the M1000RR is a bad bike, or even the Yamaha R1M. I was pretty open about how much I love that thing, and shout out to Nick if you're watching. He's most likely really enjoying that bike as we speak. Even just a look at it's a work of art. But today we are on our SP2, and let's talk about news. The biggest news of all, and I'm filming this on October 5th of 2023, Marc Marquez has officially left Honda. It's no secret that I do enjoy racing, and I do watch, and I've been watching racing ever since I could remember being alive. And maybe I'm not the biggest Marc Marquez fan, but he is one of the most popular racers to ever race MotoGP. I think we could say he's the second most popular after Valentino Rossi. And his 11 years with Honda has come to an end. And it's because Hondas and Japanese bikes in the MotoGP field have been lacking a little bit. They've been falling behind their competitors like Aprilia, KTM, and Ducati. And guys, Ducati is dominating the MotoGP field. Even Alex Marquez was a Honda rider, but he quickly switched to Gresini Ducati. And Marc Marquez at this point hasn't made any announcements on which team he's going to, but I could imagine he's going to join his brother on Gresini Ducati, but we shall see. And I did run into Alex Marquez in this year's MotoGP in the US, so Circuit of the Americas, and I did slide in a little silly joke that he thought it was pretty funny too, because when I saw Alex, I was like, Alex, how does it feel like riding a real bike, a Ducati? He looked at me and he laughed. And not that the other bikes are bad, but I think Ducati's raised the bar so much in MotoGP that other teams are trying to play catch up right now. Aprilia's been pretty quick. They won some races, but Aprilia has a little bit of reliability issues, and also the way to win a championship and the way to dominate is to be fast in all conditions, in all different varying tracks. And Ducati, they seem to have found a way to do it. And riding a beautiful bike like this and being a fan of racing, I do get a kick out of it because, hey, I'm riding a Ducati and these guys are dominating the racing field in MotoGP and World Superbike right now. They did win the last year's championship of World Superbike, and currently this year it hasn't been decided yet. But they are doing pretty good. And this is a product of their racing. And it's not like the old days, guys, where racing sold machines, because I don't think racing has a big following in the United States, at least, anymore. But I think it's relevant because it kind of trickles down to these machines that we ride. And I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, but Honda, Yamaha, the other Japanese teams like Suzuki, which no longer is in MotoGP, they don't make anything exciting for the road anymore, at least in terms of superbikes. And maybe it's got something to do with it. They just lost that spark, and some of this technologies come from MotoGP, even though the bikes have nothing to do with these road bikes. I think a World Superbike has more to do with something that you could buy as a consumer to ride on the road. But even in World Superbike, you know, Kawasaki is the only leading Japanese brand name on there. And yeah, Yamaha has been doing good, but yeah, R1M is cool, but I think it's due for a refresh, and we're anticipating something coming up, and hopefully it's something very exciting. But I don't know if my theory is correct and if you guys agree with it. But it'd be nice if you had all sorts of brands making all sorts of cool bikes. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking on the other bikes, but hear me out. As a consumer, let's say I'm going to get a Honda CBR 1000 Triple R. It is $29,000 plus taxes and fees. So I'm going to be paying 30-something grand, while I could be buying an S1000 RR, a Panigale V4, or even a Yamaha R1M. And if it's my only bike, I don't think I'm going to pick the CBR 1000 Triple R. And before you call me a Ducati fanboy, I did have a 2009 Repsol 1000. And at the time, it was the top of the food chain, and I loved it. And I wish Honda made something cool. And when I rode the 1000 Triple R that came out, I really liked it. I think it's because the nostalgia that he brought. It feels like the old Fireblades, the CBR 1000 RRs, but I think it just stays at that, because if it was my own money and as a consumer, I don't think I would ever consider buying one. I think that's where it lies, you know. Kawasaki is doing good in racing, but I don't know. The ZX-10Rs don't do it for me. I wish they did a better product. Even though the price point is good, it's not an expensive motorcycle to get onto, and I think it is probably the bang for the buck superbike, let's say, right now. But if you want something very exotic and also aftermarket support for these things, and the BMWs and Yamahas are crazy. Also, going back to news and talking about Ducati, they haven't officially announced anything, but I'll do some spoilers. Ducati's next special model, that's based on the Diavel platform, which is a Diavel V4 now, is going to be called the Bentley Diavel V4. I guess they're kind of switching off from the Lamborghini brand, or maybe the Lamborghini will be the superbike stuff and more sportier bikes. But the cruiser is going to be the Bentley Diavel V4. And maybe they'll introduce it at EICMA, which is the motorcycle show that's held in Milan every year, and it's the biggest deal in the motorcycling world, where all the big unveilings happen and all eyes are on there in terms of the industry. And this year you guys might have a surprise, because apparently there's a new V4R coming out, guys. And you're probably going to say there was a new V4R just released this year. And hey, I just heard it from someone from Ducati, and I did research on Google and elsewhere to see if there's any other news about this V4R and Bentley Diavel V4. There's no talks about it online at all, but Ducati does a pretty good job of keeping things secret until they announce it. But the Panigale V4R is a product meant to go racing. It's a homologation bike, and from what I heard, the rules for World Superbike are changing, and because of the rule change, you're not going to be able to ride a single-sided swing arm anymore. So that means that they have to revamp the bike, and apparently there's a project called the Panigale V4 G7, if I remember it right from what I was told, and it's going to have a dual-sided swing arm. I believe they're getting rid of the winglets, So it's not going to have as big of a winglet, or not going to have winglets at all. Again, this comes in conversation with some credible sources from Ducati that I had. So I don't really get an email about them, you know. It was just we were conversating, and they kind of, you know, they kind of wanted to let me know for whatever reason, which I really appreciate. But I don't know what you guys think. I think the single-sided swing arm has been I know some other bikes have it, like Triumphs and stuff, and KTMs, but I think it's a very, very distinct feature of the Ducati Superbike lineup. And I don't know if it's going to take away anything from that magical V4R, but mind you, this 2023 V4R I think is very special compared to all the previous iterations of it. It feels like a totally different bike, and we have a video where I compare that bike to this beautiful SP2, and I had back-to-back rides, and I was really mind-blown. And let's talk about the weather, guys. Oh my goodness, look at this. Miami weather is back. So winter is our better season for riding because it's cooler outside, the weather's better, it's drier, and dry season officially starts October 15th. So we get consistently dry, hot, and nice weather, and it's not as humid as summer. And right now it's probably around 90 degrees, but the humidity levels are down, so this is very refreshing for me to ride in. And this motorcycle, it's very, very hard to explain things of what you feel when you ride this, or what I feel and what I really enjoy about it. But you often hear me saying that sense of occasion. Look, I'm not doing anything stupid or crazy going fast, but just the roar of this machine and the way it feels, and I don't know. And they solved their quick shifter problems. This is a 2023, but the 2022 update for the Panigale V4 had an updated quick shifter, which is a very welcome update, because I think if you guys have ridden any of the older Panigale V4s, you would agree that it wasn't their finest hour when it comes to their quick shifters on their 2019 or 2018 till 2021 Panigale V4s and the Street Fighters. But this totally is. It's not as good as a BMW quick shifter, but it's so much better than what these bikes came with from 2018 till 2021. And welcome to Miami traffic, guys. This is the I-95, probably one of the worst places to ride a motorcycle or even drive a car, because the lanes are narrow, people are not paying attention, and nobody goes the speed limit in Miami unless there's traffic like this, and there's a lot of accidents on this road. But also, speaking of Ducati's finest hour, if you guys have been following the SP2 series, this bike did have an oil leak that we couldn't solve the first time around. And I think I'm happy to say, with our custom gasket that we made, we did solve the oil leak issue, because it's not leaking anymore. And this is my first real ride with it ever since we put that custom gasket on. But also, a source from Ducati was blaming, they never made this official either, because this bike wasn't the only bike that leaked, guys. So the Panigale V4 and the V4 platform has been extremely reliable. We never had issues, or never heard of any issues. Yes, there was some, you know, recalls in the first model year, and it happens to everything. All brand names have it. But there's been some leaky 2023 and 2024 model years. And again, this is not official, but Ducati rep was blaming the manufacturer of the silicone gasket maker that was used on these bikes. And they were saying that there was a bad batch of it, which has caused the problem, and they're made by 3Bond. And if you buy from the dealer, it's called Duckbond or Ducabond. But I have a hard time believing this had a bad gasket maker, because we used the same gasket maker but another bottle that the factory used, obviously, most likely another batch. It's very hard to verify the batches, but it leaked from the same exact location, which causes me to believe, I think, there was some issues with the oil pan, because we did change the oil pan as well. And if you've been around Ducatis long enough, the Panigale V4R has had some bad castings on their oil pans where it leaked through the oil pan, and I think that might have been the case. But I'm really happy to report that so far it hasn't leaked yet. And I'm so happy because this bike has so little miles. I'd never got to enjoy it as much as I could. It's only at 470 odd miles right now, but this is such a cool bike to ride that I'm happy it's back. You could expect to see a lot more of it on our channel because there is a walk around coming up. We'll show you guys this bike in details because it's been a little while since you guys have seen it, and I don't think they've even went into all the details of what it has, all the gloss carbon, all the matte carbon, and even when I'm riding I see it. It even looks so special. It is really cool. But we are headed to Parkhaus where they have some really cool Porsches, and there's a brand name called Singer. They are the official Singer service shop for Eastern US, I believe. Or maybe it's Southeastern US, but there's not a lot of places that will touch those things or know how to work on them because they are really cool resto mods, and I hope they have some there. Maybe we should give it a little bit since this bike hasn't really revved much. That is so cool. And I forgot who did the review, but the new 2022 and newer Panigale V4 models, these guys are testing it against the BMW, and they said the Panigale, with all its changes, has now become the more manageable and more friendly bike to ride around the track, which is very surprising because before the 2022 updates, it was the bull ride, let's say, around the racetrack that you really have to muscle it around. And even just like what I did, yeah, I know my electronics are on and I'm only on sport mode. And I'm also on a public road, which I don't want to do stupid things on, but even right there, just the front end started coming up just a little bit, and before any other electronics kicked in, you can just manage it, and it's fast enough. It's more than fast enough. And now we're entering into the downtown area, the downtown core of Miami, and we're going to get off here and go to Little Havana, where Parkhaus is. It's the famous area of Miami because there's a lot of Cubans in Miami where they've called it home now. It is a very unique area of Miami. Gets a lot of tourists. And you could be a tourist in your own town when you go to Little Havana because there's always something new to see, or if you just want to go see some really cool Porsches, if you're into that stuff. And let me tell you guys about the sound. If I could describe the sound of this machine, it is deep, it's rowdy, and it's, if you were to make a soundtrack for a motorcycle from Thunder, this is what it would sound like. But also the sound that I hear, it feels like I'm sitting on the sound, if that makes any sense, because of that high mount full acre race exhaust this thing has. It's a very different sound in terms of where it's coming from because it's mounted higher, and it definitely is a different sound than an inline four of a BMW M1000RR, which we used on the first episode of 2Wheel Convos. And if you like this format, please let us know in the comments below, because I do read the comments, and I do really want to show you guys Miami because it also gives me the reason to ride these beautiful Motomillion machines around, but also I could talk about relevant topics like we did and the relevant news that's out in there. And also, we could see some beautiful locations of Miami where maybe you guys can come and visit one day because we do get a lot of tourists. This is officially Little Havana, guys. So if you guys want to pick up some real Cuban cigars or anything that's related with Cuban culture, this is the place to do it. There's some pretty good nightlife, but this is not the exact street. The street is the next street over, which is Southwest 8th Street, which we call Calle Ocho. But it's a one-way, and we got to go east to make it out to Parkhaus. But what a beautiful day to ride, guys. We're almost there. I'll check back with you guys as soon as I make it to Parkhaus, and then I'll show you guys inside. There it is. There's Parkhaus. Here we are at Parkhaus. There's a lot of cool things to see. Let's go take a look. I think some of your viewers would appreciate this. This is an R1200S, not our style, but I think this goes to show you that there's a little bit of cars and bikes always embedded within each other, especially in the car culture of Miami. And I think Parkhaus is one of the staple places for the car culture because they used to run epic cars and coffee before in their old location at US 1. Now it's in this location. It's usually the first Saturday of the month. So if you just want to see some cool Porsches, even if you don't have a Porsche, you just want to come and experience this. They're amazing. You don't have to be a Porsche owner to come and check out their cars and coffee. But again, the car culture that's in Miami, wherever we go, you guys are going to see this. There's always two wheels along the four wheels as well. That's really cool. And let me show you something really, really cool in terms of if you're a Porsche fan, you'll appreciate this. This is a Carrera RS. So this is the lightweight version. This is actually the Euro model, and it has the roll cage inside. This is basically, let's say an SP2 version, just like what we showed at Walk Grace. This is the SP2 version of the 993 generation of 911s. And this generation particularly is special to Porsche fanatics because it's the last year of the air-cooled engines. Porsche switched to water-cooled. There is a big debate if this was the last pure Porsche or this generation of cars was the last pure Porsche. I don't know, I don't discriminate. I think they're all cool, but this is cool per se because it's a RS model. This was, I think, before the GT division existed, so the branding of the products weren't as GT3 or GT4 or whatever the annotations that is with the GT series. But this is a really, really gem, especially this is a Euro model because it has side blinkers right here, the side markers, which doesn't come on the American models. And this here is a tribute car. Some of you guys might recognize this livery. It's the Jägermeister. Yes, it's the drinks, but they used to run with the Kremer racing team back in the day in the 74, 75 series, I think. It's in the 70s. But they used to run the RSR 3.0s. There used to be 2.8s, then they switched to 3.0s with some of the changes they made. I think they were the class leaders for class 4 or group 4 racing at the time. They dominated all the racetracks. So this car is not actually an original one, but it is built in Germany to be a recreation. It has a backdate kit on it. It has a lot of cool parts. It actually has a more powerful engine in there. So this thing, as old as it is, it's really cool that it has center locks on it. I don't know, I think it's cool because the story goes that this car was given as a gift to someone in the US in the beverage industry, directly from Jägermeister. So at least you know that that's kind of official that they've made this car for him. So the logos and everything, there's a story behind it, which is really cool. And behind this car over here, it's on a crate because it's waiting to be installed onto a car that's in their shop. Just sitting here, this is like a work of art. This is a Roth Sport engine. It's a 4-liter. It's been bored out to 4-liter. It's a 993 engine, so it's an air-cooled engine. As you can see, there's no radiator, there's nothing on it. And it was started life as a 3.6. Now it's a 4-liter, roughly between 380 to 400 horsepower, which meets that 1 liter per 100 horsepower mark. I could only imagine how nice it would be to drive an NA engine like this, NA meaning naturally aspirated, to have it in a lightweight body of one of these classic Porsches. And just look at the engine. I think this is really cool. And if you guys are also into cars, you guys would know RWB Porsches. Again, some purists don't like it because they cut the fenders, they put the wide bodies on there. This is going to go on the RW Miami, I think it's called. It's this color right here. You guys will probably snoop around the internet to see if you guys want to see what that car looks like. But that car is going to be coming back here. It's going to get this new heart in there, and I'm sure the owner's going to have a lot of fun. But also, let's look at here. This is a local company. I think they're pronounced Con Racers or Cone Racers. And they make the scramble type of bike, and they have the full customization thing over here that you could customize your bike the way that you want it. And take a look at it. It's like carbon fiber tank covers, carbon fiber side covers, and the bike itself is really cool. And what's really cool is that they have this similar mindset to us. Remember when I talked to you guys about building the parts that we need for motorcycles, we use 3D printing and the machining. Look at this thing. They have a swing arm right here. So I know exactly what they did with this. This is a 3D printed swing arm. So they first designed it. So they 3D designed it, and then they 3D printed it, which this is pretty impressive because this is a pretty big piece to 3D print. This was printed in 3 pieces, but still, you need a pretty nice 3D printer to do this. And then they tested it on the bike, and then once they knew that it works and it fits as it should, machined it, welded it together, and they have their swing arm right here. I believe this probably belongs to one of their scrambler projects. It could probably go onto that bike as an option. It's really cool. It's heavy, I'm not going to lie, but again, with some of these builds, I don't think they go for the ultimate lightweight option of stuff. So this is perfectly fine. And look at it, it's got Olin suspension on it, and it's got some oil coolers on the side. It's pretty cool. I could appreciate it as someone who likes motorcycles and all the custom touches that they've done. But now that I showed you some of the cool stuff in here, and I also want to mention, so Parkhaus, again, this is not an advertisement for them. I'm just taking you guys around to staple Miami locations, and I think this is very cool, especially if you're not into cars. If you're into bikes, you'll appreciate this place. But I think what's really cool about Parkhaus is that they sell cars, they service cars, they detail cars, they restore cars, and they modify cars. So it's like a one-stop shop, and they could do the hardest thing to the easiest thing. As a business owner and as being someone who's in the industry on another spectrum, I understand the difficulties and the challenges that comes along with having a place like this, but it exists. For people like me who are enthusiasts, these places are gems because you could just go somewhere, they have all the knowledge that they need to have. And also they're just specialized in Porsches, and that's it. So if you have a Porsche and have a question, these guys are the ones to answer. Let's quickly go into the workshop. Let's see what they have there. I'll show you some of the restoration projects that they have so that you guys get an idea of how crazy it is to go from just selling cars to servicing cars to restoring cars, how different these projects are. And then they have some old 356s that we'll show you guys in the detail shop. Then we'll continue on with the video where I take you guys to the burger shop in Miami. Guys, now we're in the workshop, and this is what I want to show you when I said that these guys do everything. Take a look at this thing right here. So this car here is in for, I guess they're refreshing the engine. The engine, if you take a look at it, is cleaner than some of the places that we've eaten on, and it's just really, really cool. And the car is a slant nose Targa with a turbo engine. It's got HRE wheels. It's just out of the world, and it's, I don't know, this is like eye candy even just to take a look at it. And let's go take a look at some of the restoration stuff they do as well after here. But also I want to point out that Speedster right there, that car basically is a GT3 with no roof and has an Acura exhaust on it. It sounds wonderful. So guys, even in the workshop here, they got cool things like this, a 911 turbo with HRE wheels. This is another 911 turbo that's over here. That's kind of modified. It's got a carbon roof. It's got different wheels on it. Really, really cool stuff. And then right behind it is what they're restoring. And this is kind of like a resto mod. They're taking an engine and putting it into a chassis where it doesn't belong. So imagine like taking a V4 engine and putting in a Panigale V2 type of deal, but the engine gets shipped off to Roth Sport, which was the engine that I just showed you earlier. And then they adapted to this body. What they did here was they mock everything up before this car actually goes to paint and gets all that stuff done. So that way, this engine, they know that once it's painted and everything is beautiful, they're not going to need to modify anything to make it fit. It's kind of like your race fairings, right? When you get a bike, if you're going to track it, you put your race fairings on, you first mock it up and make sure the fitment is there, and then you'll paint it. This is kind of the same idea at a completely different scale. And let me show you something else, guys, that translates into cars from bikes, is this Brembo logo right here. As you guys know, we're big on Brembo. We work with them all the time. They have really cool car stuff. It's most of the stuff on OEM. That's very high performance applications have Brembo, but also cars that are like this that are getting significant upgrades. It's usually a Brembo that you'll see that they're using for the brakes. So let's go check out those old 356s in the detail shop, and then we'll go grab some burgers. Let's go in here, restricted area, but I think we could act like ghosts. So this is the detailing bay, and take a look at this thing. This is the 356, but the condition that this car is in is just insane. The interior looks brand new. I don't know if the interior has been refreshed, but from what I've been told, this is original paint on the car. It's just mind-blowing that the paint is in better condition than some of the new cars that I see today. But these are really cool. But I don't know if you guys get the size comparison of this thing. the first thing that you think when you see these things are, these are tiny cars. Now we're saying cars are getting bigger, but take a look at this, and this is really, really small. And they have another one here. This is a 356 convertible. This is in the restoration process. Bits and pieces put back together. Apparently this car started life as a white car. Now it's blue. I'm sure it's gonna look even more beautiful when they're finished. And they also have another restoration project right there at 964, I believe, which is down there. And they have another 911 that they're working on. But I don't know, this is really, really cool to see. Even just seeing a pair of 356s together like this is really cool, and especially something that is in this condition and this old. But I think what's even better than two 356s is some good burgers, guys. Let's go grab that best burger in Miami. Guys, here's our final stop. I'm happy to report that our Ducati is not leaking, but as you can see, well, I have to change my shirt because I often change my shirt on these rides if I'm going long distances, because I do get quite soaking wet. But let me take you guys and show you guys the best burger spot in Miami. Guys, so here's my burger. It's called the Big TFTS. I got a big smile on my face because I know how good this is. But other than telling you guys what makes a good motorcycle, I could probably tell you guys what makes a good burger. A good burger has to have good bread and a good patty, and the ingredients are personal choice. And in this case, this is like a, I guess, a Big Mac that's reimagined. Let me take a bite and I'll tell you guys how good it is. This is amazing. But guys, I'm really hungry. I'm gonna chow this thing down. The fries is pretty good too. I'm not gonna do a fries review. I'm not a fries connoisseur. But if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Until next time, guys, have a good one.